Friends, poor Charles is absolutely on fire right now, and I mean that in the best possible way. We've got a custody battle brewing that is about to get ugly fast. We've got Liesl and Jocelyn forming the most unlikely alliance in captivity history. And we've got a potential love story unfolding in the middle of a very real, very dangerous situation. If you love this show as much as I do, you are going to want every word of what I'm about to break down. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's dive straight in. Portia has had enough, and a custody war is coming. Let's start with Portia, because the storyline has been simmering for a while now, and it just reached a full boil. For anyone who needs a quick refresher on where we are, Portia and Curtis have been navigating an incredibly tense co-parenting situation involving Trina, and now there's a second child on the way. And things between them have gone from difficult to completely untenable. Curtis has been harassing Isaiah, Portia's partner, to a degree that has gone well beyond jealousy or frustration. We're talking threats, real threats, the kind of behavior that doesn't just make someone uncomfortable, it makes them afraid. And Portia has had enough. What makes the storyline so layered is the history underneath it. There was a time when keeping Curtis in the dark about Trina's paternity was one of the great regrets of Portia's life. She carried that guilt. She wrestled with the weight of that secret. She knew, deep down, that she had denied Curtis something he had every right to know. That regret was real, and it was painful. But now Portia is starting to look at that same decision through a completely different lens. Because watching Curtis behave the way he has been, threatening Isaiah, growing more controlling by the day, pushing everyone around him, she is beginning to feel like maybe, just maybe, keeping him away from Trina wasn't the mistake she always believed it was. Maybe it was protection. Maybe it was the right call for reasons she didn't fully understand at the time. That is a stunning emotional shift. And it tells you everything about how far Curtis has pushed her. The moment that crystallized everything came when Portia made a decision that sent a very clear message. She cut Curtis off entirely. No more direct communication. No more conversations. If Curtis wants any information about the baby, their baby, the child they share, he will have to go through her doctors. That is the only channel she is leaving open. Everything else, closed, done, over. Now think about what it takes for a woman like Portia to get to that point. She is not someone who makes dramatic gestures without serious cause. She is thoughtful, professional, and deeply committed to doing right by her children. For her to reach the conclusion that complete silence is the safest and sanest option, that is a reflection of just how toxic the situation has become. And here is where it gets even more complicated. Curtis is currently dealing with his own legal troubles, and prison is a very real possibility on his horizon. He's hoping to negotiate his way out of that situation, maybe a plea deal, maybe something that keeps him out of Pentonville entirely. But even if he manages to dodge that bullet, Portia may be laying the groundwork to ensure he has no role in this baby's life regardless. Full custody, that's where this is heading. And honestly, given what's been documented about Curtis' behavior lately, the threats, the harassment, the controlling tendencies, Portia would have a compelling case to make in front of a judge. But here's the thing about Curtis. He does not respond well to being shut out. He does not gracefully accept limits being placed on him. And the fact that Isaiah is in the picture, not just as Portia's partner but as someone who is actively, willingly stepping into a fatherly role, is going to send Curtis into a completely different level of fury. Because for Curtis, this isn't just about the baby anymore. This is about his identity, his place, his role. And watching another man potentially fill that role, with Portia's blessing, no less, is going to push him in directions that could make the situation dramatically worse before it gets any better. The coming months between these two are going to be explosive. A full custody fight, with Curtis fighting from a position of weakness, thanks to his own behavior, is going to be appointment television. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, Portia is going to have to protect not just herself and this new baby, but Trina too, from the version of Curtis that comes out when he feels like everything is being taken from him. This story is just getting started, and it is going to get messy. Liesl and Jocelyn, the most unlikely team in Port Charles history. Now let's talk about what's happening down in the depths of Windermere, because the dynamic between Liesl and Jocelyn has quietly become one of the most interesting relationships the show is developing right now. These are not two women who would ever choose to spend time together under normal circumstances. Liesel is sharp-tongued, fiercely protective, and operates by her own moral code that doesn't always align with what everyone else considers acceptable. Jocelyn is fierce, stubborn, and not exactly known for backing down when she believes she's right. Put them in a room together under ordinary conditions, and you'd expect friction. Put them in a captivity situation with their lives genuinely on the line, and something unexpected starts to happen. They start to need each other. They've already been going back and forth about the cold fusion project and what Liesel's next move should be. And Jocelyn, because of course it was Jocelyn, came up with a plan. She suggested that Liesel sabotage the project from the inside. Don't deliver what Cullum wants. Build a prototype that looks right but doesn't work. Give them something that satisfies on the surface while quietly pulling the rug out from under the whole operation. It's bold. It's risky. And it's exactly the kind of idea that Liesel would both admire and be terrified by, because the stakes of getting caught are almost impossibly high. But here's where the real negotiation comes in. Liesel's hesitation isn't just about the danger of sabotaging the project. It's about Cassius. Because Liesel, despite everything, despite the shock and the grief and the slap that happened when she first learned the truth, has already started to feel something for the son she never knew she had. She can't help it. It's instinct. It's maternal. It doesn't erase the pain, but it's there. And the last thing Liesel wants is for Cassius to end up in prison once this is all over. She has already lost so much. She is not going to lose another son to a cell. So Jocelyn holds something valuable here. She can offer Liesel a promise that once they're free, she will cover for Cassius. She won't blow his secret. She won't tell the police or the WSB who he really is. She'll let the story be that some random associate of Cullum's was responsible for the kidnapping, and Cassius, whoever he is, whatever he's done, stays out of it. Now, is that morally straightforward? Absolutely not. Cassius did kidnap Jocelyn. That happened. That was real. But here's the thing, and Jocelyn clearly knows this even if she hasn't fully said it out loud yet. Cassius has also saved her life. More than once. He has put himself between Jocelyn and Cullum repeatedly, including in situations where Cullum was fully prepared to kill her. The man who grabbed her off the street has become, in the strangest possible way, one of the only reasons she is still alive. There's also the cold, hard reality of what would have happened if Cassius hadn't taken her when he did. Cullum killed Marco without hesitating. He walked into that law office and ended a life without a second thought. If Jocelyn had been accessible to him instead of tucked away as a hostage, her fate might have been the same. Cassius, for all his crimes, may have actually protected her by keeping her close. That doesn't make the kidnapping okay, but it does complicate the moral math in ways that Jocelyn, practical, sharp Jocelyn, is already calculating. And then there's the matter of little James. Cassius has been living as Nathan for long enough that James has known him in that role. Revealing the truth, shattering the illusion, exposing everything, wouldn't just affect Cassius. It would devastate a child who has already lost his father. Liesel knows that. She will absolutely use it to appeal to Jocelyn's heart. So whether the deal between them is formally negotiated or simply understood, whether they shake hands on it or just arrive at the same unspoken conclusion, these two women may end up becoming the guardians of Cassius' secret. At least for a while. At least long enough for him to find some kind of foothold in a life that doesn't require him to hide. It's a complicated, morally gray, emotionally rich arrangement. And watching Liesel and Jocelyn navigate it together, two women who couldn't be more different, bonded by shared trauma and a mutual debt to someone who hurt them and saved them in equal measure, is exactly the kind of storytelling that keeps viewers glued to their screens. Dante Joe and Lucas is a love story born in danger. And now for the storyline that has fans buzzing in the best possible way, because Port Charles might be about to give us a brand new romance. And the setup, chef's kiss. Let's lay out where things stand. Sidwell is still out there. He is dangerous, he is angry, and he has a very specific list of people he considers responsible for his problems. Lucas is at the top of that list. After everything that went down, the trap, the bulletproof vest, the video evidence, the whole operation that led to the attempt to bring Sidwell down, Lucas has made himself Sidwell's primary target. Along with Sonny and Laura, yes, but both of them have serious resources. Sonny has an entire security operation. Laura has protection that comes with her position. Lucas Lucas turned down Sonny's offer of bodyguards. He is, right now, the most exposed person on Sidwell's radar. That is not a situation Dante can ignore. Dante is someone who takes his responsibilities seriously. He's not going to stand by and watch someone get hurt, especially someone connected to people he cares about, when he has the ability to act. So the expectation is that Dante steps in and assigns protection for Lucas. And the officer he assigns? Joe. Now here's where it gets interesting. Joe has been operating mostly in the background since his arrival in Port Charles, police work, peace PD interactions, staying in his lane. But he has crossed paths with Lucas. They had a moment not long ago that was anything but forgettable. Lucas came to Joe about Marco's murder, raising his suspicions about who might have been responsible. And instead of a clean, professional exchange of information, what happened was something with a little more energy to it. A little friction. Some banter that went back and forth with just enough spark to make viewers sit up and pay attention. And as any General Hospital fan knows, friction is the first language of love. There is something wonderfully classic about this setup. Two people who don't entirely see eye to eye, thrown together by circumstances they didn't choose, forced into close proximity around the clock. The 24/7 nature of a protective detail is not a casual arrangement. It's intimate in ways that have nothing to do with romance, sharing space, sharing tension, being present for each other in moments of real fear and real relief. That kind of intensity has a way of breaking down walls faster than anything else. And let's not forget the emotional dimension here. Lucas is grieving. Marco's death left a wound that is still very raw, and Lucas is carrying that grief while also trying to process the danger he's now in and the choices that led him there. Joe, stepping into that space as his protector, is going to see sides of Lucas that most people don't get access to. And Lucas, despite his guard being up, despite the loss he's still processing, is going to notice that Joe is someone worth noticing. If Joe risks his own safety to protect Lucas at some point, and given where the story is heading, that feels less like speculation and more like inevitability. That changes everything. There is something about someone putting themselves in harm's way for you that cuts through defenses faster than anything. It's not just gratitude, it's something deeper. Something that Lucas, when he's honest with himself, won't be able to dismiss. Port Charles has a long tradition of love stories born in the most unlikely, most dangerous circumstances. And Joe and Lucas have all the ingredients, the sparring, the tension, the shared danger, the emotional complexity, to become something that viewers invest in deeply. It won't be immediate. Lucas isn't ready to leap into anything, and that's as it should be. But the foundation is being laid, one charged interaction at a time. And by the time this is all over, by the time Sidwell is truly dealt with and the dust settles, something may have shifted between these two men in a way that neither of them entirely expected. Is this the beginning of a great Port Charles love story? All the signs say yes. And that is where Port Charles stands right now, friends. Portia drawing a line in the sand that Curtis is absolutely going to try to cross, Liesl and Jocelyn forging an alliance in the most unlikely of circumstances, and Joe and Lucas edging towards something that could be truly special. I want your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Portia should pursue full custody? Do you think Jocelyn will keep Cash's secret? And are you rooting for Joe and Lucas as much as I am? Subscribe, leave a like, and I will see you right back here next time. Stay dramatic, Port Charles fans, always.